My message today is called Divine Mind and Maple Sugar. When I told my husband that was the title, he said, "What?" Fair. But the story of it all starts with our new annual theme, Open at the Top. And what we're doing with this theme, it is the entire CSL annual theme. And it is reminding us as individuals, as communities, that yes, we love our Ernest Holmes, new friends. Ernest Holmes is the founder of this teaching, and he wrote approximately 900,000 books. Might be a slight exaggeration. But he was fond of saying, and he said it often, that we need to stay open at the top. We need to stay open to new perspectives, new ideas, new teachers, new ways to look at things. And so for our January theme, we tend to talk about the basics of science of mind. And we're doing that again this time, but we're looking at it in a fun new lens of looking through indigenous traditions of people who believe things similar to us. How can we take these teachings even deeper? How can we find a more fresh, more enlivened way to view the basics of science of mind? So we're going to start with chapter 1 of the Science of Mind textbook, which is the thing itself. What is the thing itself? The divine mind. Through the lens of the Potawatomi people and how they look at the world. This delicious book, Braiding Sweetgrass, if you haven't played with it yet, we are doing a book study starting in the middle of the month. If what we're talking about over these next couple weeks inspire you, interest you, come play with us in the book study. The thing itself, the divine mind, what is that? Well, there is a divine mind, and we are all part of it. And we have a slide that you might remember if you've been around for a while about the divine mind, where I jokingly made it a brain, but the mind that encompasses all things, that which made everything and is in and through and as all beings. It can't be pinned down to one point, but I put it in a circle because that's how charts work. And then you notice all the little beloved people around the circle, and our heads are in the one mind, because the mind that we think with is our use of that one mind, meaning we're all one. We're all one. We're individualized into unique people, but we're all part of that simple oneness that includes all beings. Because of this, we have access to everything we could ever need to know. Everything we could ever need to know, because it's all in the one mind, right? Everything that's ever been thought, everything that's ever been studied, everything that's ever been talked about, the wisdom of the ages is available to us. The thing is, we don't like to listen to it. It shows up on the inside of us as what we like to call the still small voice. That urging on the inside of you, you familiar with what I'm talking about? That whispers silently on the inside of our hearts, telling us, go to the outreach meeting. Join the book study. Call that friend you've been thinking about but haven't reached out to. Those little whispers on the inside of us. And we have a tendency to say, well, that's just what I want. That's not anything special. But what if we were to tell you that that whisper on the inside of you is divine mind, is spirit itself, calling you into your greatest next expression? We call that intuition. Now, I know culture has a lot of things that they talk about intuition. It's just a hunch. It's just a hunch. Where do you think that hunch is coming from, friend? It's the divine mind on the inside of us. Now, this is a very basic tenet of science of mind. We might call it thing 1, the first thing you learn. When people are struggling, I often ask them, well, what is the one thing you know for sure? Like, what is at the heart of your understanding and belief about the world? And I will tell them, I know mine. Mine is God is all there is, and God is only love. Man, I say that a lot of times. You guys have heard me say that a lot of times. God is all there is, and God is only love. God is all there is the same thing as saying divine mind is the oneness. It's right there for us all the time if we listen. If we listen. Part of this infinite one mind is the thing that we call the law of mind, which is the mechanism that takes our thoughts and beliefs, like in the song, takes our thoughts and beliefs and our words and our intentions and our feelings and presses that into the mold that we have been wishing for and brings it into fruition. It's why the people you know who are pretty positive and always looking for fresh things tend to have fresh and exciting things happening in their life. And it is why people who struggle with that peace sometimes struggle with bringing the freshness in. And it's why we teach about things like affirmations and spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer, to help us align more beautifully what we wish to see in the world, to press it into the law so we get to live that way. Classic, basic foundations, class 1, right? And we love it. We love it. There's nothing more powerful than going back to the basics. The first thing I would always encourage you to do if you're struggling is go back to that very core principle. What do I know for sure? And build back from there. The one mind is always right there for us. It conspires for our good. Have you heard us say the universe conspires for our good? That's the one mind working through the law. It literally rearranges the molecules of the manifest universe to align what we want and need. You doubt me? I'm so glad you did. How many times have you had a synchronicity happen? You think, I really need someone to help me figure out what to do with my yard, and the next person you meet is a landscape architect. How many times have you thought, I'm so tired of not getting along with my cousin. I wish she would just call and say she's sorry. And the phone rings. That's the universe, the divine mind conspiring for our good. That's how things align for us. And conveniently, the divine mind is in everyone and knows everyone's heart and is also speaking to everyone, so can literally gather the information, the resources, the people, the circumstances needed to bring you what you seek and line it all up for you. And even better than that, should you take a step off that path, it will move all of the stepping stones to where you are and set you right back on it. That is the heart of what we're teaching in Science of Mind. That's what we're talking about when we say God, Spirit, the universe, the beloved, the divine one, sweet Spirit. That's what we're talking about. And it talks about it in the first chapter of the Science of Mind book. Ernest Holmes said this, among many things. He said, the mind which we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself. And we should recognize its simplicity. Y'all, we make it too hard. Recognize the simplicity of leaning into the good and watching it come to us. I could be done now. But I have this great book to reference. So I, too, am going to share a story with you. It's from the Potawatomi people. And their legend says that they learned to make maple sugar and maple syrup from squirrels. Late in winter, when the nuts are depleted and the squirrels are hungry, but it started just a bit to warm up, the sap starts flowing in maple trees. It still looks barren and frozen, but the squirrels, they're innovative. They climb up into the maple trees and they nibble on the bark until the sap runs, and then they drink it. They lick the sap and they drink it. But the real prize comes the next morning. After the freeze and the thawing again, the maple sap crystallizes into maple sugar, and the squirrels get their treat. Sugaring is a practice of patience. The Potawatomi people learned to hammer little sprues into the trunks of the maple tree, and the sprues are little tubes that allow the sap to run into the buckets that they would leave below, which we see here. It's still the way it's done today. Even industrially, when you eat that maple syrup on your pancakes or waffles, this is how it's done. It only happens in that perfect little moment when it's still cold enough for the sap to be, the sap is warmer and it runs out of the tree, but it has to be warm enough for the sap to flow. There's this magic couple of weeks that the squirrels knew, and the Potawatomi people watched them, and then they tasted that sugar, and they said, aha, we want that. It's between 35 and 45 degrees is the magic temperature. So the Potawatomi people started using buckets and gathering the sap, and they would pour it all into one giant bucket and leave it overnight. And each night, the freeze would hit again, and the water would rise to the top and freeze, and they would take that giant piece of ice off day after day until they had maple syrup. And that is how we all got our delicious pancakes, thanks to our friends the squirrels. The Potawatomi people are native to the areas around Lake Michigan. That is their ancestral homeland. And they, like us, believe that all people are one. But they take it to where Ernest takes it, which is usually deeper than where we take it, to all beings are one. All natural-made objects are one. It's all one thing. Now, this is what Ernest Holmes believes, but I don't know that it necessarily shakes out that way in the way we teach it so very well. But the squirrels are part of the Potawatomi Nation, just as Turtle, which became Turtle Island, which is to this day what they call North America. The beavers and the loons, everything is a part of the oneness, including their homes. So think about it for a moment. What would it be like? What would it be like to treat every animal, down to the teeny tiniest insect, every natural thing, down to the teeny tiniest weed, as a member of your family, as one that is yours to tend, to care for, to practice compassion and respect around? Part of the reason the Indigenous Americans and the settlers had such conflict is because the Indigenous people didn't have any idea of ownership of land or animals. You can't own your family. That's not a thing in their culture. Think about how different that is to walk out that same basic belief to such a deep level. The divine mind operated for the Potawatomi through that synchronicity when they thought, let's find something delightful to eat. And the synchronicity of the squirrels sharing their wisdom and the people noticing and learning and creating and sharing and passing down that wisdom to their ancestors and to us. The divine mind supports literally all with that same wisdom. It's a synchronicity that the squirrels figured that out, those delightful little creatures. It truly is all of creation, all of it. And so we open up to this idea of conscious awareness of our oneness with all beingness. Not with all people. I mean, yes, with all people, but not only with all people. With the animals you see in the wild, just as much as the beloved pets in our homes. With the little ants and mosquitoes who do such work in our world. To the earthworms that allow cultivation of plants. Truly, plants cannot grow without the animals that dig through and aerate the soil, or the little insects that help things decompose, which then feeds the soil, which then feeds the plants. Every one of us has our beloved role. And as humans, it is our calling to be a part of that cycle. Where are we being a part of allowing things to fall away, that decomposition of exercises and ideas and organizations and relationships? Where are we a part of breathing life into the new? Are we, for instance, paying attention to the environment, to the degradation of the waterways that might make it impossible for some of our relatives to live, those who specifically live in the water? Just take a moment and ponder what it would be like to live as if a fish that doesn't have a freshwater home that is clean and safe is as important as if our friend doesn't have a home that's clean and safe. As the apex species in this particular snapshot of world development, the Potawatomi believe that it is our job, our responsibility, more than any other animal, to be a place of healing for the earth itself. And for me, that's a walking out of this belief of oneness to the highest and deepest level. It makes me think of Nancy, our Leadership Council president, and her dream of a garden here on campus that grows food for anyone who wants it, of a literal edible landscape. Yes, it will feed humans, and won't that be wonderful and delightful? And it will also be a home for those natural beings that live on those plants, that live in those plants, that help things decompose that must decompose and feed the soil for the next round. The law will always rearrange the manifest to make a way. The important thing to remember is that we are part of the manifest world. Sometimes we can lean into the, well, God will figure it out, God will find a way. But what if we are the way? If the universe is rearranging all the molecules of the manifest world to create a path for the highest good, and we are of those molecules, perhaps our yes is part of the universe making a way. Are we open at the top enough to be guided into that role? Are we open enough to partner with life to support all who live on Turtle Island and Turtle Island itself? And so the invitation is to think about these ideas. How can I make gentle choices? How can I be a part of the oneness? And as you reconnect with this concept of oneness, meaning with all things, with all of life, there's a question I invite you to take into your week and beyond. And we have a slide for it. How can I create good with all in mind, with all of creation? How can I create good with all in mind? And we're just going to take that question right into this completing prayer. I know that there is one life, one power, one infinite presence that is in and through and as all things, all beings, all places, all animals, all insects, all people. And that it is the good, that it invites each expression of life into the growth of good, the expansion of good, the sharing of good of every nature. And from this space, I simply affirm that every beloved who brought something in their heart into this space this day, that it is being met with a yes from the divine mind, from the infinite universe. That everything that is wounded is being healed. That everything that is injured is being healed. That everything that feels lacking is being filled. That the good grows and grows simply because we are each a yes. How good it is to be open at the top. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every healing, every opening, every prosperity, every fresh breath, knowing that it serves all of creation. And I call it all good, as we say, and so it is.